Naval nativity. As their mothers fled the North Korean forces 75 years ago, five Christmas babies were born at sea. Civilians from Hungnam in North Korea board the USS Jefferson County as they fled during the Korean War 19 December 1950. The evacuation of Hungnam was called named Christmas Cargo. Pictures Picture a cargo hold on the ship, maybe as wide as the basketball court, as long as the three places end to end, with the lower, middle, and upper floor. Now cram 14,000 people in this space, each dark. The edge of the hold are still worse. There are no source of heat in the water cold except what's emitted by the mass of the people. The place reek of the human waste peeling up at the feet of everyone around. And our pregnant mother is standing shoulder to shoulder on one of those floors with contractions signaling your impending arrival at this earth. But you're not the alone one coming into this world in the mass of humanity, floating in the cargo ship in the frigid East Sea. You've got four siblings by circumstances, not bloodline. Your birthdays are the late December 1950, 6 months into a war that has engulfed the Korean peninsula. You get the names Kimchi 1, Kimchi 2, 3, 4, and 5, and you'll be known in history as the Christmas miracle. Five fragile lives tosses on the treacherous, uncaring current of history and the sea. Without the cooperation of the U.S. soldiers, us refugees wouldn't have made it to the south in search of freedom. One of the miraculous arrivals, Son Yang Yong, who was dubbed the Kimchi One, told CNN, calling himself the fruit of the alliance between the South Korea and the U.S. But Son's naval nativity 75 years ago was also the start of the life searching for those left behind, trying to reassemble yet another Korean family torn apart along with their homeland. Kimchi 1 through 5 were monikers bestowed on them by U.S. crew members in homage to the beloved Korean dish and perhaps the reflection of the less culturally sensitive time. They were all born on the U.S. SS Meredith Victory, the 7,200-ton cargo ship constructed by the United States in the closing months of World War II. As war erupted, the U.S. brought the ship back into its transport fleet to take material to the peninsula, supporting the U.S. and United Nations troops fighting to push back a North Korean invasion of the South. After Pyongyang's troops pushed them to the very end of the peninsula around Busan, those forces responded fiercely, sending the North Koreans well back into their country by the fall. But then China stepped in to help its North Korean ally, Kim Il sung. More than 1 million of Beijing's troops, the People's Volunteer Army, called the PVA, rushed into Korea and by early winter had the US and the UN forces on the run. The PVA's modus operandi of overwhelming the enemy with numerical superiority was proven in the Battle of Chosin Reservoir, where about 120,000 PVA soldiers fought against just 30,000 US Marines and soldiers in sub-zero temperatures for around 17 days in late November 1950s. The fierce battle led the US Marines retreat to Hungnam on North Korea's east coast, where the mass evacuation Mass evacuation operation was being planned. They would soon be joined by the tens of thousands of fleeing civilians. Having experienced the communist reality since the North gained independence from the Imperial Japan in 1945, anti-communist North Koreans began fleeing south. We planned shipping for 25,000, but at least that many followed the Marines down from the Joseon reservoirs. Retired U.S. Navy Vice Admiral James Doyle, who oversaw the evacuation operation, recalled in the article published in the U.S. Naval Institute magazine in 1979. The virtually overnight, 50,000 North Koreans appeared wanting to leave. Soon that number doubled. The Major General Edward Armond, the commander of the U.S. Army Corporation Corps, ordered to board all civil government officers and their families together with as many other loyal and non-communist citizens as shipping space would allow. According to historian Richard Stewart, the SS Meredith Victory, which was delivering supplies from Japan's Yokohama harbor to port in South Korea, was called to Hungnam. There was chaos because there were roughly 100,000 North Korean refugees who were swarming all over the dock. Bernie Smith, the former junior third mate of the Meredith Victory, told CNN. It looks like a Times Square in New York on Christmas Eve, except it was very quiet. People just packed on the dock with babies on their backs. And men, women, a lot of children. Over 30 hours starting on the morning of December 22nd. The last of them were crammed into a Meredith Victory, the ship's crew filling each 5 holds with 3 levels each of human cargo. Others found space in the open air of the deck, the Curtis Smith said he had ever experienced. Among the refugees were the parents of Son Yang-young, who would soon to become Kim Chi-won. Uh, they had left their first 2 children in the care of their uncle in the north, believing that the separation would be temporary and keep the children safe. Son's status as a high-level officer in the region would put him in danger if communist forces took over, so his aide advised him to shelter in the south for 3 weeks. For 2 to 3 weeks with his heavily pregnant wife until the U.S. and the UN forces reclaimed the province, something that never happened. We loaded them on big pallets that our crew made and we loaded them in, pushed them as tightly as we could, standing up until the deck was full, and then we could cover it with the big steel beams, and then load the next deck above them, Smith recalled. The cargo ship was packed. Each 14,000 refugees overall crammed into every possible space. There was no room for anyone to get comfortable. While it was freezing outside, the refugees were locked in the decks with no electricity, light, heat, water, food, or toilet. They were literally showering human feces from each other these 15 different decks. 4 foot high piles of human droppings in each of the 15 holes. It was the closest sewer because each deck had been sealed off and there was no way the people could go ashore. Smith said of the condition the ship was left in after carrying the refugees for days. The ship, which had no armament or gun, would navigate a narrow channel through a huge minefield and dodge air attacks on its voyage south. Miraculously, no one was killed. Every day, my parents told me that I was born on the ship. Mom thought he gave a birth to me in the captain's cabin, but turned out there was a medical office attached to the cabin. That's where I was born, Son told CNN. It was the chief mate who assisted the Korean ladies helping the mothers deliver the five babies inside the cabin on the main deck, according to Smith. After being turned away from Busan due to what was already overflow of refugees, the ship arrived in Goze, uh, an island of the peninsula's southeastern tip, where Son would spend the first 7 years of his life. My dad found a job at the U.S. Army's PX retail store, and every morning before he left for work, he told me stories about his 9-year-old son and 5-year-old daughter that he left in North Korea, Son recalled. His parents never could make their planned return home and regretted their decision every day. Every morning, my mom filled up a clean bowl with freshly drawn water and left it looking northward. It was a folk religion. He prayed towards the north that my brother and sister left behind would stay well until we reunite. Son, now 75, said. After the ceasefire in 1953, millions of families were left separated by the military demarcation line until the Korean Red Cross jumped in to help identify and connect the families. Son's parents were quick to sign up, but like thousands from their generation, they died still longing for their children. My dad passed away about 40 years ago, and my mother about 20 years ago, and their will was for me to find my brother and sister since they couldn't do so, Son said. And it is left with Son to tell his brother Tae Young and sister Young Ok that their parents did not abandon them, and that they passed away deeply sunken in sadness. Son was lonely growing up. When he saw his friends with siblings, he thought, I wish I was had a brother and sister. Why are they in the north? His parents did not think about having another child after settling on the southern mainland, first in Busan, then in the capital Seoul, feeling guilty and sorrow for the two left in North Korea. Son lived busily, working for the trading company in the 1980s and 90s, when being deployed to California and Southeast Asia. When he returned to Korea in his fifth, he heard from the close acquaintance who was a North Korean refugee himself that Kimchi 5 was looking for other kimchis. He said he met the Kimchi 5 at the Hunnan evacuation memorial ceremony in Koze, who said the other four kimchis were missing and that he wished they were all well, Son said. He was able to meet with SS Meredith's Victory Steppers who were in Seoul just after attending the same memorial ceremony. Then he got in touch with Kimchi 5, Lee Kyung-pil, who resides on Koze as a veterinarian. It is a meeting. It is like meeting my brother as if I met my family. I was so happy to see him. I have the same destiny. Kim Ji-won recalled the meeting his brother by circumstances. While Kimchi 2 and 3 and 4's whereabouts remain unknown, Kimchi 1 and 5 have been actively representing separated families. The two volunteered at the 2018 Pyeongchang Winter Olympics in South Korea, at a time when both Koreas were actively interacting politically and culturally with Pyongyang, sending athletes and diplomatic delegations to South Korea, warming up ties which has since gone into reverse. Although a reunion with his blood siblings has not happened yet, continuing his effort with his fellow Kimchi keeps Son hopeful. Asked to share his message for his lost siblings, Son said, I will look for you until I close my eyes, and when I found you, I will tell you everything in details about how our parents missed you living in South Korea. Any interaction, including dialogue and reunions of separated families between the two Koreas, have been suspended in recent years. The situation does look like we could reunite anytime soon, but I strongly believe without a doubt that we will meet someday, Kim Chi-won said, his voice faltering. Stay healthy and do not be discouraged. Until we met, we have to meet again.